Part 54. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yanyun Yuchi. Chapter 531. Abandoned flour mill, in front of the office building. Boom. Accompanied by a powerful momentum that shook the world, Zhang Fengjai quickly emerged from his body. Feeling the deadly threat of the natural enemy's demonic energy, the blue snake flashed a look of fear in its cold eyes. Afterwards, it not only stopped releasing venom immediately, but also immediately loosened its tightly bitten neck and turned its head to escape. But at this moment, a pair of hands like steel and iron grabbed its head and tail respectively, and then tore them hard. "Boy, stop it!" Just as the blue snake screamed in pain because of the forced tearing of its body, a shout of suppressed anxiety and panic suddenly came from the east of the factory. After taking a deep breath and retracting the powerful demonic energy that was stimulated, Zhang Fengjai ignored the shouting just now, quickly mobilized the gray energy of Danshan into his palms, and then continued to increase the tearing force with the strength of his body. Bang! Finally, with a crisp sound of breaking, the body of the blue snake was torn in half. No. Looking at the two pieces of snake head and tail thrown on the concrete floor by Zhang Fengjai, after struggling a few times, they died motionlessly. The young man with glasses who quickly appeared on the wall roared with bloodshot eyes. "Boy, you are looking for death." Reaching out and touching the neck bitten by the blue snake, Zhang Fengjai glanced at the blood on his fingers. After a fierce murderous intent flashed in his eyes, he looked up at the young man with glasses standing on the wall and asked with a cold expression. "Who are you? Why did you sneak attack me with the five-colored dragon snake just now?" "Boy, since you know that the blue snake is the five-colored dragon snake, you must also know how precious and rare the five-colored dragon snake is. Then why didn't you obey my order just now and let the five-colored dragon snake go obediently?" Not only did he not respond to Zhang Fengjai's question, but the young man with glasses questioned angrily. "The five-colored dragon snake is one of the few snakes that contains a trace of the blood of the divine dragon. It is the offspring of the divine dragon and the black mamba snake. It is born with a venom that even monks cannot resist. If an ordinary snake wants to successfully upgrade to a demon beast, evolve into a dragon, and transform into a divine dragon, it will take at least tens of thousands of years. Then, the five-colored dragon snake with the blood of the divine dragon only needs less than 1,000 years. Moreover, because the blood of the divine dragon is contained in its body, the five-colored dragon snake has a limit speed far superior to that of ordinary snakes since the moment it hatches. More importantly, the five-colored dragon snake is a mutant snake with 1 egg and 5 yolks, which is like a relatively rare quintuplet. This leads to the ability of the five-colored dragon snakes to have telepathy, and they can work together to exert a powerful strength of 1 + 1 greater than 2. At the same time, the venom contained in their bodies can be fused with each other to form a stronger toxicity, which ultimately threatens the venom of the strong in the virtual elixir realm and the golden elixir realm. Therefore, Zhang Fengjai killed the sky-blue little snake, which not only caused the young man with glasses to lose a precious five-colored dragon snake monster, but also made him lose the strongest helper now and in the future, which is why the young man with glasses was so furious. Facing the young man with glasses asking such a stupid question, Zhang Fengjai looked at him with a look of "you are an idiot," and he was too lazy to continue to ask about the other party's origin and the reason for the sneak attack. Then, he directly mobilized the gray energy of Danshan to condense a sharp sword, ready to use sword skills to attack. Contemptuous eyes, condensed swords to perform sword skills. In the eyes of the young man with glasses, Zhang Fengjai's series of actions just now were not just simple provocations, but naked humiliation and ridicule, which made him furious, and after a gloomy curse, he directly raised his arms. "Boy, you deserve to die." As the glasses-wearing young man cursed, 3 small snakes about 10 centimeters long, pure white, dark red, and dark green, sprang out from the cuffs of his arms. Since we know the origin of the five-colored dragon snake, we also know the number of five-colored dragon snakes hatched, and we also know the characteristics that the five-colored dragon snakes will not be easily separated. So, looking at the three five-colored dragon snakes flying quickly, Zhang Fengjai, who was not surprised at all, threw the sword in his hand directly, and then shouted with 10 fingers in seals. The sky and the earth are boundless, the primordial law, the mind is indestructible, and it changes in 1,000 ways. Accompanied by Zhang Fengjai's shouting, the grey sword thrown into the air, while the sword body vibrated rapidly, began to split into new swords. Soon, 10 identical swords appeared in the air. Go! Stretching out his hand and pointing at the three five-colored dragon snakes that were about to rush to his side, Zhang Fengjai lightly scolded. Then, 3 swords rushed towards the pure white snake, 3 swords rushed towards the crimson snake, and 3 swords rushed towards the dark green snake. And the last sword rushed towards the young man with glasses at a gust of wind. Looking at the swords stabbing at him quickly, the young man with glasses just threw out a few 5-element spells to slow down the sword's attack speed, then frowned and repeated the sword spell that Zhang Fengjai had just shouted. The sky and the earth are boundless, the Hunyuan Genfa. The sky and the earth are boundless, the Kinkan sword method. The Kinkan sword method, the sword turns into 10 swords, 100 swords, 1,000 swords and 10,000 swords. After repeating it several times, a flash of inspiration suddenly flashed through his mind, causing the young man with glasses to suddenly change his expression and ask in a lost voice. "Boy, what is your relationship with the old thief Wuxin?" Hearing the young man with glasses insulting his third grandfather, Zhang Fengjai's originally cold face instantly darkened. Afterwards, he cursed him as he did to Xiao Zuhai, an inner disciple of the Lishan sect, and because the content of the curse was exactly the same, his speech speed was so fast that the young man with glasses could not refute it at all. "You bastard who doesn't know the real thing, Taoist Wuxin is your ancestor, and I am your grandfather. How dare you insult your ancestor, you shameless person who is treasonous, forgets your ancestors, and bullies your teachers and destroys your ancestors. Didn't your parents teach you about courtesy, righteousness, integrity, and shamelessness? Or are you a beast with a life but no one to teach you?" But compared with Xiao Zuhai, who was so angry that he vomited blood, the young man with glasses, whose state of mind was obviously much stronger, not only did not get angry at all, but said with a smug smile on his face. Given the selfish character of the old thief Wuxin, it is absolutely impossible for him to teach his self-created Kinkan sword technique to anyone other than a close blood relative. And judging from your current age and cultivation level, you should be the grandson of the old thief Wuxin. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 532. Inside the abandoned flour mill. He mobilized the spiritual power in his dantian to quickly condense a judge's pen, and directly tapped the weak point of the sword that flew in front of him. While easily knocking the sword away, the young man with glasses said with more pride. Back then, the old thief Wuxin relied on his own powerful strength, as well as his own swordsmanship and secret techniques, not only severely injured the head of the Jindan realm and 9 elders of the Sudan realm, but also took away the treasures of the sect, the Xin Chen Tian Yuan fruit and Yuan Yang pill. As ordered, as long as I can successfully capture you alive and personally send you to the head of the sect and the elders, they will have the opportunity to avenge the old thief Wuxin. Then, the happy head of the sect and the elders will not only promote me to a core disciple, but also reward me with the Yuan pill for strengthening the foundation and nurturing the source. So you are an elite disciple of the Danding sect. When Zhang Fengjai heard the young man with glasses mention the Xin Chen Tian Yuan fruit and Yuan Yang pill, he felt vaguely familiar with them. He always felt that he seemed to have heard his great-grandfather and third-grandfather mention them once or twice in casual conversation. When he heard the young man with glasses mention the Yuan pill that only one sect could refine, and combined with the other party's cultivation in the middle of the 8th level of foundation building, he immediately guessed the other party's true origin. Danding sect. The 10th sect among the 10 major sects of Taoism, inherited from the famous Wujiao Taoist in the Middle Ages, is a sect that specializes in refining elixirs to assist in cultivation. The cultivators absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth into their own bodies and seize the fortune of heaven and earth, which is an act against heaven and earth, and will definitely be punished and oppressed by the will of heaven and earth. The most obvious punishment and oppression is the completely disproportionate gap between realm breakthrough and lifespan. If calculated based on the average lifespan of ordinary people of 70 years, the Qi condensation period will only extend the lifespan of cultivators by 10 years, which is 80 years. The foundation building period will only extend the lifespan of cultivators by 30 years, which is 110 years. Since the void pill period is only a transitional stage, there is no extension of lifespan. Even the golden pill period, which is known as the realm of immortals and gods, can only extend the lifespan of cultivators by 70 years, which is 180 years. Unless they can break the second life of the golden pill and enter the infant return to void realm, which is known as the realm of earthly immortals, their lifespan will be greatly extended by more than 800 years, and they will become immortals who can live in a flash for 1,000 years. Moreover, among the 4 factors that can determine the advancement of a cultivator's realm, potential gradually weakens with age, that is, the age of realm breakthrough should be at least in the first half of life. For example, for a cultivator of the condensation stage with a lifespan of 80 years, it is best to break through the foundation establishment stage before the age of 40. For a cultivator of the foundation establishment stage with a lifespan of 110 years, it is best to break through the golden core stage before the age of 55. For a cultivator of the golden core stage with a lifespan of 180 years, it is best to break through the infant return to void stage before the age of 90. Even in an environment with abundant spiritual energy, a talented cultivator with excellent qualifications may need more than 40 to 50 years to advance from the condensation stage to the golden core stage if he is lucky, and he may not be able to break through in his lifetime if he is unlucky. Not to mention the infant return to void stage with a lifespan of 1,000 years. It is for this reason that Zhang Fengjai chose to accept Solitsi, Shenloxi and Xiao Yuxuan, who only have ordinary lifespans. Because he was not 100% sure whether he could successfully advance to the golden elixir realm, let alone break through the nascent soul return to void realm before the age of 90. Then, with the help of various medicinal herbs that can prolong life, he and his 4 beloved women can spend the rest of their lives together. Faced with this completely disproportionate punishment and oppression, since ancient times, some wise and capable people have created elixirs that can assist cultivators in accelerating their practice and breakthroughs through medicinal herbs containing essence and spiritual energy, and gradually evolved the Dan Dao that is the same as the Sword Dao and the Sword Dao. However, the requirements for talent, physique, and comprehension in Dan Dao practice are too high. Among 10,000 talented cultivators, there may not be a qualified Dan Master, which also creates the unique status of Dan Masters. In the period when the spiritual energy of heaven and earth was abundant, the Danding sect, whose combat power was not as good as that of the third-rate sects, ranked second among the 10 major sects of Taoism, second only to the Kunlun sect inherited from the ancient times, which was enough to prove the transcendent status of the alchemist. However, as the environment of heaven and earth continued to deteriorate, the number of natural materials and treasures continued to decrease, and the status of the Danding sect, which could not refine more high-quality elixirs, showed a downward trend. Before the century-long war between the East and the West, the ranking of the Danding sect had fallen to 10th place. Today, with the control and plunder of resources by secular forces, the Danding sect, which lacks a large amount of alchemy resources, may have already fallen out of the ranks of the 10 major sects of Taoism and become a second and third-rate sect. That's right. In the face of Zhang Fengjai's identification, the young man with glasses nodded without denying it, and took the initiative to introduce himself. My last name is Tao Jingyang, my name is Jingyuan, and my master is Qianyuan Zhenren, the leader of Shangyun Peak of Danding section. Although the status and strength of Danding sect can no longer be compared with those in the Middle Ages due to the influence of the environment, a lean camel is still bigger than a horse. After Tao Jingyang nodded in approval, Zhang Fengjai, who reached out to take back the sword, also said with a happy smile on his face. As an elite disciple of Danding sect, I believe you, Tao Jingyang, must be carrying a lot of elixirs to assist in cultivation and breakthroughs. If I let you die here today, all the elixirs on you will belong to me. Come on. Facing Zhang Fengjai's greed, Tao Jingyang jumped off the wall and walked towards the office building, while his tone was full of sarcasm and provocation. Boy, as long as you can defeat me, then all the 5 kinds of precious elixirs I brought down the mountain this time will be yours. In that case, then I won't be polite. Pretending not to hear the other party's sarcasm, Zhang Fengjai quickly mobilized 80% of the grey energy in his danshan and directly performed a sword technique of shining stars and moons. Humph. Facing the tangible sword energy condensed by the sword technique, Tao Jingyang snorted disdainfully, and then waved the sword in his hand and shouted. The wind is rising and the clouds are surging. Accompanied by Tao Jingyang's shouting, the white sword energy condensed by the sword quickly met the grey sword energy. But just as the two sword energies collided, the white sword energy suddenly softened and wrapped around the grey sword energy, then swallowed up the grey sword energy bit by bit. Zhang Fengjai's face changed slightly, and he immediately increased the grey energy in his danshan by 10%, and used 90% of his strength to perform a more powerful sword technique. 3 stars shining brightly. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yanyun Yuqi. Chapter 533. In the Abandoned Flour Mill. Facing the 3 grey sword chi that were more powerful and faster, Tao Jingyang, who was still not panicking, also waved his sword and shouted. The wind and cloud suddenly changed. Accompanied by Tao Jingyang's shout, the sword condensed not a white sword chi, but a cloud-like white sword chi. The cloud sword chi quickly wrapped the 3 grey sword chi, and then, like the white sword chi just now, began to devour the 3 grey sword chi bit by bit. Knowing Tao Jingyang's identity and strength as an elite disciple, he was far from being comparable to Zhao Zuolin's elite disciple with a silver spear and wax head. So, Zhang Fengjai did not continue to hide his strength and directly mobilized all the grey energy in his danshan, waving his sword and shouting. Starstream Thunder Strike. At about 4 o'clock in the morning, although the stars in the sky had begun to gradually disappear, there were still dozens of slightly dim stars left. When the grey sword energy condensed by the sword technique just separated from the sharp sword, dozens of dim stars suddenly became dazzling. Then, the star power scattered between heaven and earth not only increased suddenly, but most of them quickly gathered on the tangible sword energy, which gradually replaced the originally grey sword energy with silver-white color. Tao Jingyang, who successfully used sword energy and sword cloud to destroy 4 grey sword energy, saw the tangible sword energy replaced by silver-white, and his confident face was instantly replaced by solemnity. Especially when he felt that the energy contained in the sword energy that continuously gathered countless star power had a tendency to break through the 9th level of foundation building, his solemn face was instantly replaced by gloomy. Turning his head to look at the 3 colorful dragons and snakes that could not get rid of the entanglement of the 9 sharp swords in a short time, Tao Jingyang's eyes flashed with a trace of reluctance, took out a delicate porcelain from his sleeve, poured out a crystal clear pill with a rich aroma, and then swallowed it into his mouth with gritted teeth. Make a fuss. When the pill swallowed into his body instantly burst out with a huge amount of energy, Tao Jingyang immediately mobilized the energy of the essence, and then performed a sword technique that he had not yet fully mastered. If the sword technique of Fenjiun mutation condensed the sword cloud, then the sword technique of making a fuss condensed the sword wind. The strong sword wind, with only the aftermath, directly blew away the star power that was gathering in the silver sword energy, which also made Zhang Fenjai's face change. Afterwards, he also turned his head to look at the 9 swords that were fighting with the 3 colorful dragons and snakes, and a hint of hesitation flashed in his eyes. The sword division method of Kinkan sword technique will not only split the consciousness integrated into the sword, affecting the precise control of the sword, but also reduce the quality of the sword. At the same time, if you want to truly exert the power of Kinkan sword technique, only the way of forming a joint attack with 10 swords can work. Since he couldn't defeat Tao Jingyang smoothly even with all his strength, and he was unwilling to use his life-saving trump card easily, Zhang Fenjai wanted to condense the 10 swords to increase their attack power. But the premise was that he had to find a way to deal with the 3 fatal 5-colored dragon snakes, which required him to take out the condensation spell that he was unwilling to use. After all, the poison contained in the 5-colored dragon snakes could also harm the monsters condensed by the spells, and eventually the spells might become disposable consumables. However, when the sword wind continued to reduce the star energy gathered by the sword energy, causing the color of the silver sword energy to gradually return to its original color, the hesitant look in his eyes was instantly replaced by determination. Then, Zhang Fenjai took 3 old colored spells from his sleeves. Cry, cry, cry. But just as he had just mobilized the gray energy in his danshan to activate the spell so that he could fight the 3 5-colored dragon snakes to release 9 swords, 3 cries suddenly sounded above the factory building. The 3 colorful dragons and snakes trembled slightly when they heard the cry, affecting their maximum speed and almost being stabbed by 3 sharp swords. Accompanied by the clear and high cry, 3 beautiful and holy cranes descended from the sky and headed straight for the 3 colorful dragons and snakes. Looking at the cranes flying quickly, the 3 colorful dragons and snakes' small and cold eyes immediately revealed a look of fear, and immediately rushed towards Tao Jingyang at the risk of being hurt by the sharp swords. Shang Guan's Haining. Tao Jingyang, who also saw the 3 cranes flying quickly, had a sudden change of expression on his face. He immediately overdrew his danshan spiritual power to increase the power of the sword wind, and quickly defeated the grey sword energy. He reached out to catch the 3 colorful dragons and snakes that had escaped, and then whispered to himself with a gloomy face. Zhang Fenjai, who quickly retracted the 10 sharp swords, did not pay attention to the 3 cranes that stayed in the air, but cast his eyes directly on the girl in white clothes standing on the east wall of the factory. Judging from her appearance, the girl in white standing on the wall is at most a beauty of Solitsi and Shen Loxi, and even slightly inferior to Rong Mok of the Rong family. But her graceful and unworldly temperament makes her look like a fairy who is not in the world, like a fairy walking from the clouds, making the whole world shrouded in darkness instantly dazzling. What shocked Zhang Fenjai even more was that the other party seemed to be only in her prime years, but her cultivation had reached the peak of the 8th level of foundation building. If the other party was from a Taoist sect, he must be a core disciple who enjoyed top treatment. Just when Zhang Fenjai arrived at the abandoned flour mill, a black snake slid quickly into the Guanghe Huafa villa area along the artificially planted grass and stopped outside the gate of the Shen family villa. However, the black snake did not rush into the Shen family villa. Instead, it raised its head and looked at a villa not far from the Shen family villa, which was Zhu Zhenjun's villa number 7. Because it clearly felt that there was a monster breath in the courtyard of villa number 7, which was not very powerful, but gave it a fatal feeling. The black snake looked at villa number 7 with a hint of hesitation in its small cold eyes. Because it was worried that it would be attacked and ambushed by the monster when executing the master's order, so for a moment, it didn't know whether to deal with the woman in the villa first, or to eliminate the hidden danger first and kill the monster. However, when the silver moon in the sky was slowly covered by a dark cloud, the monster breath emanating from the courtyard of villa number 7 gradually subsided, which instantly replaced the hesitation in the black snake's eyes with surprise. Because this meant that the strong monster aura that the other party had just emitted was not deliberately aimed at itself, but just absorbed the essence of the moon emitted by the silver moon for cultivation. Afterwards, the little black snake restrained its breath and sneaked into the courtyard through the gap in the villa's gate. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 534. In the guest room of Shen's villa. Just as the black little snake had just sneaked into the yard, Zhao Yuqian, who was sleeping soundly, suddenly woke up. Her beautiful eyebrows were tightly wrinkled, and a look of doubt appeared in her eyes. Because she was awakened by a fatal alert that suddenly emerged in her heart. If it were an ordinary person, they might think that the fatal alert that emerged in their hearts was just the result of being too tired and exhausted during the day, and then continue to lie down and sleep. But as a cultivator who had done something against the will of heaven, and after the transformation of the zombie pill, Zhao Yuqian, whose physique had been comprehensively improved, did not think so. She had a very strong feeling in her heart, and felt that the sign of the fatal alert just now indicated that a great danger was approaching. Turning her head to look at the empty quilt, knowing that Zhuang Jian must have sneaked into Zhang Fenjai's bed, Zhao Yuqian immediately felt helpless and shook her head, then quickly got up and put on her clothes, and then came to the bedroom where Zhang Fenjai was resting. Originally, she wanted to wake up Zhang Fenjai and Zhuang Jian, who were familiar with each other, by knocking on the door. But just as she was about to knock on the door with her raised hand, a trace of demonic energy suddenly appeared in the room, causing Zhao Yuqian's face to suddenly change, and she kicked the wooden door open. Bang! Then, she saw a small snake about 10 centimeters long, black in color, and emitting a faint demonic aura crawling in front of the open window sill. The loud sound of kicking the door suddenly woke up Zhuang Jian, who was sleeping soundly. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and sat up, then looked at Zhao Yuqian, who was standing at the door. "Sister Yan, be careful." Just as Zhuang Jian just sat up, the black little snake crawling in front of the windowsill suddenly bent its body and rushed hard, then rushed directly towards Zhuang Jian at a gust of wind speed. It was too late to use the life-saving spell. Zhao Yuqian's face suddenly changed and she reminded him sternly, and then she instinctively rushed towards Zhuang Jian. Originally, with Zhao Yuqian's 4th level qi condensation cultivation, even if she overdrew all her potential, it would be impossible for her to reach Zhuang Jian before the black snake. But for some reason, when she subconsciously tried her best, the huge energy that suddenly emerged from her body, meridians, blood vessels, dantian and internal organs made her speed break through the limit directly, and she rushed to Zhuang Jian as fast as lightning. Although Zhao Yuqian successfully blocked the sneak attack of the black snake and saved Zhuang Jian, who still hadn't reacted, she was too late to fight back, and her right arm was also bitten by the black snake. Then, the black snake immediately released the poisonous poison unique to the black mamba snake in its body. "Zixi, what's wrong with you?" Whether it was the sudden kicking of the door into the room, or the lightning-fast blocking in front of her, Zhao Yuqian's series of actions just now made Zhuang Jian, who had just woken up, feel confused. But when she saw Zhao Yuqian's tender skin gradually turn black, and black blood flowed from the corner of her mouth, she immediately panicked and shouted to support the other party. At the same time, she also saw the black snake biting Zhao Yuqian's arm tightly. Although she didn't know the origin and species of the black snake, she could guess that the reason why Zhao Yuqian was poisoned must be because of it. The anger that suddenly emerged in her heart made Zhuang Jian immediately raise her jade hand and slap the black snake hard. As a 5-colored dragon snake with the blood of the dragon, the black snake not only has the extreme speed, but also has the physical strength of the sky and the earth. At the same time, as the most capable helper of Tao Jingyang, an elite disciple of the Danding school, with the assistance of a large number of precious medicinal materials and elixirs, the realm of the black snake is comparable to the 5th peak of the foundation building. It is precisely because the 5-colored dragon snake has such a strong strength, with the extreme speed and the power of the sky and the earth, Zhang Fenjai needs to use the 3 swords of the Kinkan sword method to barely trap the 5-colored dragon snake. Therefore, the jade palm that Zhuang Jian used all her strength to slap out in anger not only failed to hurt the black snake, but was forcibly bounced back by the opponent's strong physical defense. In the end, the body instantly formed a rebounding shock force, which directly caused her jade hand to quickly become red and swollen, and her arm gradually became numb due to the severe pain. A mere ant in the sixth level of the condensation stage dared to actively attack her, which immediately aroused the ferocity of the black snake. At the same time, the ant was the target that the master ordered to be killed. Therefore, the black snake suddenly swung its tail and whipped Zhuang Jian's body hard, directly whipping her into the air, and then like a kite with a broken string, it hit the wall of the bedroom heavily. Bang! Puff, puff, puff. Zhuang Jian fell from the wall and spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood. Her face was as pale as paper as she looked at Zhao Yuqian, who was lying on the bed. She looked at the black snake that had opened its mouth, and her eyes showed despair. She began to call Zhang Fenjai's name in her heart. But unfortunately, due to the interference of the yin-yang spiritual veins, Zhang Fenjai, who was far away in the abandoned flour mill, did not feel her call. Seeing that the target that needed to be killed was not completely dead, the black snake jumped directly onto the soft carpet, and then slid towards Zhuang Jian quickly. Cry! But just as the black snake slid to Zhuang Jian's feet and opened its mouth to bite Zhuang Jian, a cry suddenly came from the direction of the window. Accompanied by the crisp cry, a crane made of talisman paper quickly flew into the bedroom. The moment it saw the paper crane, the black snake's body immediately tensed up, and a look of fear appeared in its small, cold eyes. Although the crane made of talisman paper had no eyes, in Zhuang Jian's view, the paper crane seemed to have eyes and stared at the black snake. Looking at the paper crane flapping its wings and stopping in mid-air, which had no tendency to attack for a long time, the black snake's look of fear was gradually replaced by thinking. But the thoughtful look in its eyes did not last too long, and was soon replaced by a firm look. Then, the black snake immediately turned its head and bit Zhuang Jian's jade legs, which were as smooth as jade and as tender as snow. Cry! But at this moment, the paper crane stopped in mid-air, cried out to the sky, and then it automatically burned with a sound. The burning flames quickly formed a crane about 1.5 meters tall and graceful. Although the black snake that launched the attack first had already bitten Zhuang Jian's pink legs, considering the time it took to release the venom and the speed of the crane's attack. In the end, the black snake immediately loosened its mouth that was tightly biting Zhuang Jian's legs, and then turned its head and quickly fled to the window sill. Although the black snake, which had the maximum speed, had already rushed to the window sill in the blink of an eye, the crane had already anticipated the direction of its escape, and its sharp and slender beak pierced the black snake's fatal 7 inches like a gust of wind. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yanyun Yuqi. Chapter 535. In the bedroom of the Shen family villa. As a monster with the bloodline of the dragon, its cultivation is comparable to that of a black snake at the peak of the 5th level of foundation building, and its vitality is extremely tenacious. Even if it is a fatal 7 inches, being directly pierced by the sharp and slender beak of the crane, not only is there no immediate death, but the ferocious animal nature is instantly aroused, overcoming the inner fear of the natural enemy, the crane. The snake's tail, which had the power to lift the sky and shake the earth, lashed hard at the crane's slender beak. Crack! With a crisp cracking sound, the beak that was hit hard by the snake's tail was broken off directly, and then fell to the window sill with the small black snake attached. And just when the sharp and slender beak was broken, the crane suddenly shook, and its body quickly shrank and turned into a paper crane again, and then fell lightly on the carpet. At the same time, the snake's tail slapped the window sill hard, and the small black snake fell directly along the window and fell into the yard. Immediately afterwards, the little black snake endured the pain caused by the fatal wound, used its mouth to pull out the 7-inch beak that had stabbed it, and then slid its body straight to the abandoned flour mill. As an elite disciple of the alchemy sect, Tao Jingyang is not only an alchemist who is proficient in alchemy, but also a miracle doctor with superb medical skills. As long as Tao Jingyang is found before its vitality disappears, relying on Tao Jinjiang's medical skills and the life-saving elixir he carries, then it has hope of regaining its vitality and continuing to survive. But just as the little black snake rushed out of the yard, a red light like a rushing wind appeared next to it. Immediately afterwards, the tail was suddenly bitten by a red light, and then a feeling of pain, numbness, dizziness, and heart palpitations came quickly. Turning his head to look at the monster beast that had loosened its grip on the snake's tail, the little black snake had a look of regret in its small, cold eyes. If it had known that the monster that posed a fatal threat to it was a thousand-legged centipede that it could easily defeat, it would have dealt with it in advance, so that it would not have been ambushed by the opponent. But unfortunately, it is too late to regret. As the impact of dizziness and heart palpitations became more and more intense, the little black snake finally fainted with a tilt of its head. Seeing the fainted black snake, the thousand-legged centipede quickly opened its mouth, and then started to swallow it from the tail of the snake. Inside an abandoned flour mill. At the moment when the little black snake was swallowed by the thousand-legged centipede, Tao Jingyang, who was staring at Shang Guan's Heining, suddenly changed his expression, turned to look at Zhang Fenjai, and roared at the top of his lungs. "Boy, not only did you kill my blue five-color dragon snake, but you also dared to kill my black five-color dragon snake. I will skin you and cramp your muscles today." In order to prevent the possibility of backlash due to the extremely fast growth rate of the colorful dragon snakes who have the bloodline of the dragon. As early as the day he obtained the colorful dragon snakes, Tao Jingyang extracted a drop of soul blood from 5 colorful dragon snakes as a means of control. Therefore, even if the yin and yang spiritual veins interfere with telepathy, he can sense the change of the black snake in the first time. After also withdrawing his attention to the fairy in white, Zhang Fenjai couldn't help but frowned and asked, "Tao, you and I have always been in this abandoned flour mill. When did I kill the black multicolored dragon and snake?" "Boy, although you didn't do it yourself, it was definitely the insidious means you left in the villa beforehand that killed my other black multicolored dragon and snake." After hearing Tao Jinjiang's accusation, Zhang Fenjai's expression suddenly changed, and a strong murderous intent immediately emerged from his body, and then he roared with angry eyes and gnashing teeth. "Tao Jingyang, how dare you send colorful dragons and snakes to attack my woman? Not only will I skin you alive today, but I will also destroy the entire Danding sect in the future." After an angry roar, Zhang Fenjai, who took the initiative to disperse the Kinkan sword technique, immediately mobilized a demonic energy in his heart space, intending to immediately deal with Tao Jingyang and quickly return to the villa to see if Zhuang Jian and Zhao Yuqian were injured or if there were any other injuries. Hope of rescue. Also because of the death of the black multicolored dragon and snake, Tao Jingyang, who could not suppress the strong murderous intention in his heart, immediately used the life-saving trump card given by his elders, a jade pendant infused with the essence and blood of the monster. Roar. With a deafening roar, a giant colorful tiger about 7 meters high and 10 meters long sprang out from the jade pendant crushed by Tao Jingyang. Roar. Then, the giant colorful tiger roared like thunder at Zhang Fenjai, and exuded a powerful momentum comparable to the peak state of the 9th level of foundation building. However, when it felt the terrifying demonic energy emerging from Zhang Fenjai's body, its body trembled violently and stepped back one after another, with a look of horror in its eyes. At the same time, the 3 colorful dragons and snakes hiding in Tao Jinjiang's sleeves also trembled and immediately curled up together. Tao Jingyang and Shang Guan's Heining, who also felt the terrifying evil aura, also had different looks in their eyes. Tao Jingyang was deeply frightened with a hint of regret, while Shang Guan's Heining was deeply interested with a hint of curiosity. "Tiger, stop him." When the terrifying demonic energy emerging from Zhang Fenjai began to affect the surrounding world, Tao Jingyang, who knew he was no match, saw the fear and regret in his eyes instantly replaced by determination. Then, he immediately turned around and ran away, and gave stern orders to the giant colorful tiger that kept retreating. Although his heart was full of infinite fear, and his momentum was completely suppressed by the terrifying demonic power, due to the fact that the consciousness in the essence and blood was controlled by the secret method, the giant colorful tiger had to stop retreating, and then rushed towards the river with all his strength. Maple leaves? Destroy. Looking at the giant colorful tiger rushing towards him, Zhang Fengjai, whose expression was as cold as ice, stretched out his finger. The demonic power given by the special existence of Mouse Mountain is like the top of Mount Tai, facing the giant colorful tiger. Roar. Accompanied by a miserable wail, the giant colorful tiger condensed with blood essence and secret techniques was directly blasted by the terrifying demonic power into countless rains of blood that scattered all over the sky. Looking up at Tao Jingyang, who had fled to the edge of the wall, Zhang Fengjai raised his arm and pointed a finger for the second time. Destroy. With terrifying demonic power spanning time and space, it instantly descended on Tao Jingyang's head. Feeling that death was approaching, Tao Jingyang immediately flashed a cold light in his eyes and threw out the 3 colorful dragons and snakes in his sleeves, hoping to get a chance to escape. Although the strength of the 3 colorful dragons and snakes is far inferior to that of the giant colorful tiger, the dragon blood contained in their bodies and the physical defense that shakes the sky and the earth have a certain ability to resist the terrifying demonic power. This also bought Tao Jingyang nearly a second. Clock's escape time. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 536. In the Abandoned Flour Mill. Just as Tao Jingyang used the time gained by the 3 colorful dragons and snakes to escape and tried to jump over the wall to escape, Shang Guan's Haining, who had been standing on the wall, suddenly stretched out her slender white jade hand and slapped out 2 strong palm winds in succession, forcing him back into the factory. Shang Guan's Haining, you and your master will never be able to. Just as Tao Jingyang was forced to retreat to the flour mill, his feet had just landed on the ground of the factory, and the terrifying demonic power that killed the 3 colorful dragons and snakes was like a mountain pressing down on his head, locking him directly and completely cutting off any chance and hope of his escape. Knowing that he was doomed, Tao Jingyang, when his life was about to come to an end, suddenly felt endless resentment in his heart. But the target of the resentment was not Zhang Fengjai, who was about to kill him with a life-saving trump card, but Shang Guan's Haining, who blocked him from escaping from the flour mill. Because he received a call from Zhao Zujian, a core disciple of Lishan sect, and agreed to use a 3,000-year-old Qinglong ginseng, a 500-year-old Huangzhen grass, and a 300-year-old Huiling fruit as bargaining chips for killing Zhang Fengjai, so his death at the hands of Zhang Fengjai was the result of his lack of strength and his own fault. But Shang Guan's Haining's attack to stop him from escaping from the flour mill was a revenge. An encounter during his first experience down the mountain, and his admiration for her, made him take advantage of the opportunity to refine the elixir and touch the other party's jade hand, which caused the other party to chase him for more than half a month. Although he should not have made a frivolous move against the other party, the fault of just touching the back of the hand was not serious enough to take his life. So, when the terrifying demonic power began to forcibly destroy his head and soul, Tao Jingyang cursed loudly to the sky with endless resentment. But unfortunately, the speed of the terrifying demonic power was too fast, causing his head to be blasted into countless blood rain and minced meat before he could finish his curse. Considering that Tao Jingyang was carrying several precious elixirs that could assist him and Zhuang Jian in their cultivation, Zhang Fengjai quickly used his mind to control the demonic power to change its attack direction, so as to avoid destroying the precious and rare elixirs when the terrifying demonic power destroyed his body. Boom! The terrifying demonic power that was forcibly changed its attack direction finally blasted on an abandoned carport 30 minutes away, not only completely destroying the carport that had long been in tatters, but also blasting a more than 2-meter deep pit on the cement-paved ground. Ignoring the terrifying demonic power that changed its attack direction and the damage it eventually caused, Zhang Fengjai bowed with one hand and prepared to thank Shang Guan's Haining, and then returned to the Shen family villa as soon as possible. Suddenly, a miserable and painful howl came from the more than 2-meter deep pit blasted by the terrifying demonic power. Ah! Attracted by the screams, Zhang Fengjai turned his head and found that a large amount of black and white gas suddenly emerged from the 2-meter deep pit. After a quick look of surprise and joy on his face, Zhang Fengjai quickly used the Qingfeng step to rush into the deep pit, and then took out the geomantic ruler to fix the black and white gas. After that, he took out the compass to track the yin-yang spiritual vein consciousness that was seriously injured and was trying to escape. In the end, although he did not successfully lock the yin-yang spiritual vein consciousness, he found a black and white crystal stone the size of a baby's fist less than 30 centimeters deep underground. When his left hand held the black and white crystal stone and was about to take it out of the deep pit, the Hunyuan taking heart method ran automatically without control, and the gray energy in the Danshan instantly boiled, causing Zhang Fengjai to immediately release his left hand, and his face showed an uncontrollable surprise. Because the changes in the Hunyuan taking heart method and the gray energy in the Danshan proved that his guess was correct. The black and white crystals nurtured by the yin-yang spiritual veins can indeed make up for the defects of the Hunyuan taking heart method. After taking a deep breath and forcibly suppressing the joy that kept emerging in his heart, Zhang Fengjai took out a seal from his sleeve and pasted it on the black and white crystal, then put the black and white crystal into his sleeve and left the deep pit. Seeing the large amount of black and white gases emerging from the 2-meter deep pit blasted by the terrifying demonic power, which contained a special regular breath, Shang Guan's Haining frowned slightly, and a look of doubt appeared in his eyes. When Zhang Fengjai used the geomantic ruler to fix the emergence and floating of the black and white gases, a flash of inspiration suddenly flashed in his mind, which instantly replaced the doubtful look in Shang Guan's Haining's eyes with surprise, and then he mobilized the Danshan spiritual power to rush into the deep pit. But just as she was about to jump off the wall, her eyes accidentally swept across the white brain and blood splashed on the wall. She stopped abruptly, and a look of struggle flashed in her eyes. Because she was worried that her risky behavior would cause misunderstandings from the thin boy and eventually cause unnecessary conflicts. But thinking of the treasure that might appear in the deep pit, she was unwilling to give up. However, as Zhang Fengjai walked out of the deep pit with a calm expression and did not show the joy of getting the treasure at all, the struggling look in Shang Guan's Haining's eyes was replaced by doubt again. My surname is Zhang, my name is Fengjai, and my Taoist name is Qingxiu. Thank you for your help just now. First, 5 exquisite porcelain bottles, 12 different types of talismans, 2 small and exquisite jade boxes, and an old book were searched from Tao Jinjiang's sleeves and chest. Then, after introducing himself with one hand, Zhang Fengjai solemnly thanked him. Taoist name Qingxiu. Hearing the Taoist name mentioned in Zhang Fengjai's self-introduction, Shang Guan's Haining's doubts were instantly replaced by surprise, and she quickly introduced herself with a single-handed bow. My name is Shang Guan's Haining, and I am a disciple of King Jigenren. Hearing the King Jigenren mentioned in Shang Guan's Haining's self-introduction, a powerful independent cultivator that his third grandfather had once praised flashed through his mind, and Zhang Fengjai's face immediately showed surprise and further verification. Miss Shang Guan, could it be Senior Gui Ruhe, who is known as the one who can cover the sky with one palm? Yes, my master's secular name is indeed Gui Ruhe. Shang Guan's Haining nodded to confirm. Thinking of the third grandfather mentioning his friendship with Gui Ruhe, Zhang Fengjai secretly breathed a sigh of relief, and a look of surprise appeared in his eyes. But when he thought of Zhuang Jian who might have encountered an accident or even died, he immediately gave up the idea of further communicating with the other party, and hurriedly bowed his head and said goodbye. Miss Shangguan, Kingxiu doesn't know if his family is in danger. He is very worried about them, so he will take his leave first. If Miss Shangguan encounters trouble in the future, you can go to the Shen family villa in Guanghe Huafu to find me. I will do my best to help you. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 537. In the Abandoned Flour Mill. Without giving Shangguan's Haining any chance to stay or talk, Zhang Fengjai, after saying goodbye, immediately used all his strength to perform the Qingfeng step to leave the flour mill, and then rushed to Guanghe Huafu at the fastest speed. After taking a look at Zhang Fengjai, who disappeared in the night as fast as the wind, Shangguan's Haining turned her head and looked at the deep pit where a large amount of black and white gas emerged again, and a trace of determination appeared in her beautiful eyes. Because according to her understanding of the yin-yang five elements feng shui veins, the deep pit where the black and white gas emerged must hide the yin-yang spiritual veins of the superior vein pattern. At the same time, according to the degree of convergence of the yin-yang spiritual veins to the spiritual vein aura, she deduced that the yin-yang spiritual veins under the flour mill have not only produced spiritual intelligence, but also successfully bred yin-yang crystals. Yin-yang crystals contain rich and pure yin-yang innate vitality, which can assist martial artists in the acquired realm to impact the innate martial arts in the shortest time. The innate realm of martial arts is equivalent to the foundation building realm of Taoist cultivation. It was a coincidence that she not only practiced both magic and martial arts, but also reached the peak of the acquired realm, and was only a hair's breadth away from breaking through the innate realm. If the martial arts successfully advanced to the innate realm, then with the 9th level of the foundation building period, she would have the strength to directly challenge the virtual elixir realm and become the youngest top powerhouse in the cultivation world in 100 years. After taking a deep breath and suppressing the excitement in her heart, Shangguan's Haining gently jumped off the wall, and then walked towards the deep pit while secretly mobilizing the spiritual power of the Danshan to prepare for defense. After all, the yin-yang spiritual vein that could generate spiritual intelligence and breed yin-yang crystals already had the strength to threaten her. But until she jumped into the deep pit, she did not encounter any danger. Although there was no compass magic weapon to track the consciousness of the yin-yang spiritual vein, relying on the acquired Yuan Li that reached the peak realm, Shangguan's Haining quickly determined the location of the yin-yang crystal. However, when she saw the shallow pit that had been dug and the remaining crystal aura in the shallow pit, her face changed slightly and she immediately jumped out of the deep pit, then used the Lingwei martial arts to chase Zhang Fengjai in the direction he left. Just as Shangguan's Haining had just left the flour mill, the black and white gases that had been constantly emerging from the deep pit immediately stopped emerging and quickly began to retract. When all the black and white gases that had emerged completely disappeared, a giant earthworm with a head as big as a basin suddenly appeared in the more than 2-meter deep pit, and the rest of its body was all underground. However, there was a wound about 15 centimeters long on the head of the giant earthworm, which was bleeding all the time. Boom! As strong roars came from the deep pit, the ground of the entire flour mill began to shake violently, and countless cracks appeared on the cement floor. Tiles and dust from abandoned factories and office buildings began to fall continuously. With the roar and the violent shaking of the ground, the huge head in the deep pit began to climb up quickly, and left the ground with its body as thick as a bucket. 30 seconds later, a giant earthworm with a body length of more than 30 meters appeared behind the wall of the flour mill. Although the giant earthworm has no eyes, the head supported by the body is higher than the wall, giving people a feeling of looking at the east. Little monk, you dare to take away the energy source of my future impact on the Demon King. The local dragon will never let you go. A curse full of strong murderous intent came from the giant earthworm's small mouth. Then, the giant earthworm moved its huge head and turned around to rush directly to the deep pit passage that had just sprung out of the ground, and returned to the ground again. Immediately afterwards, the ground of the entire flour mill shook more violently. Whether it was the abandoned factory building or the high-quality office building, they gradually collapsed in the violent shaking. 30 seconds later, the entire flour mill was completely reduced to ruins, which not only saved Suligzhu nearly 700,000 yuan in demolition costs, but also shortened the construction period by 7 days. It can be said to be an unexpected thing. Mobilizing all the gray energy in Danshan to perform Qingfeng step, Zhang Fenjai's speed has exceeded the wind. In the end, it took him less than 3 minutes to successfully return to the Shen family villa. Without any delay, he went directly through the open window into the bedroom. Zhang Fenjai immediately saw Zhuang Jian lying under the bedroom wall and Zhao Yuqian lying motionless on the bed. Ignoring Zhao Yuqian, who had turned black, Zhang Fenjai flashed to Zhuang Jian's side, and then stretched out his hand to her wrist to check carefully. Among the 3 broken ribs in the front chest, one rib directly pierced the lungs, causing her to faint with difficulty breathing. Several important meridians and blood vessels were on the verge of breaking, and the heart that was hit hard in an instant had a tendency to stop beating. After retracting his pulse-checking finger, Zhang Fenjai couldn't help but let out a long sigh of relief. Although Zhuang Jian's injuries seemed very serious, as if she could die at any time, but without damaging her Danshan and sea of consciousness, some internal injuries were not a problem for him. Turning around and pulling out a wooden box from under the bed, Zhang Fenjai took out the healing holy pill that his grandfather had given him on the Mid-Autumn Festival reunion night, and then returned to Zhuang Jian's side and gave her the healing pill. Then, he carefully used the gray energy in his Danshan to return the ribs that had pierced his lungs to their original position. 1 minute later, Zhuang Jian, who was in a coma, slowly opened her eyes, and her pale face gradually turned red. "Sister Yan, I'm sorry, it's all my fault that you suffered this disaster." Since Tao Jinjiang's target was him, and he was able to appear in the abandoned flour mill at more than 4 o'clock in the morning, it means that he had been secretly monitoring him for a long time. Then, not only did he leave rashly and secretly, but he also did not leave any means to protect Zhuang Jian, causing her to be attacked by the 5-colored dragon snake. Zhang Fenjai felt that he had to bear at least 90% of the responsibility. So, when he saw Zhuang Jian wake up, he quickly apologized for his own fault. Under the rapid healing of the top healing holy pill, Zhuang Jian gradually recovered some of her energy, and shook her head with tenderness in her eyes to comfort her. "Yezi, you and I are lovers who have been through thick and thin together. We should support each other, and there is no responsibility for one of us to drag the other down, so you don't need to feel guilty." "Sister Yan, thank you." Seeing Zhuang Jian struggling to sit up, Zhang Fenjai thanked her with a moved heart and reached out to help her sit up. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 538. In the bedroom of the Shen family villa. With the help of Zhang Fenjai, Zhuang Jian slowly sat up and saw Zhao Yuqian half lying on the bed. Thinking of Zhao Yuqian's fearless and proactive defense against the black snake's sneak attack, which caused her to faint from the snake venom, Zhuang Jian hurriedly asked Zhang Fenjai. "Yezi, hurry up, go save Qian." "Sister Yan, don't worry, I'll go and see." After nodding, Zhang Fenjai bent over and picked up Zhuang Jian and put her on the bedside, and then carefully observed Zhao Yuqian, who had been invaded by the snake venom. If judged simply from the breath and heartbeat, Zhao Yuqian had already died of the poison at this time, and there was no hope and meaning of rescue. But thinking of the body transformed by the zombie pill, it has a certain resistance to toxicity, and the toxicity of the zombie pill is far stronger than the snake venom. Therefore, Zhang Fenjai did not give up the rescue and put his hand on Zhao Yuqian's black wrist, using the method of cutting the pulse to carefully check. At this moment, Shang Guan's Haining, dressed in white, suddenly appeared in front of the window. When she saw the woman in white standing in front of the window, like a fairy coming down from the clouds, Zhuang Jian's eyes immediately showed a trace of envy. Because the temperament and demeanor displayed by the woman in white were exactly what she dreamed of. But when she noticed that the woman in white was staring at Zhang Fenjai and showing strong interest, The envy in her eyes was gradually replaced by worry and hostility. Although Zhuang Jian didn't mind Zhang Fengjai hooking up with other women outside besides her, Sulitzi, Shen Loxi and Xiao Yuxuan, the premise was that the appearance, figure, and temperament of other women could not be too amazing and could not exceed the four of them too much. Otherwise, they would not be able to share more of Zhang Fengjai's love and time. Zhang Fengjai, who also noticed Shang Guan's Heining's arrival, did not pay any attention to it, but chose to close his eyes and continue to use pulse checking. Because in the first inspection just now, he found that Zhao Yuqian was not completely dead, and there was a very weak suction force in her dantian, which was devouring the poison in her body. After a second more careful inspection, it was confirmed that the initial discovery was correct. There was indeed a suction force in Zhao Yuqian's dantian that could devour the poison and transform it into essence. Zhang Fengjai opened his eyes and said to Zhuang Jian with a long sigh of relief. Sister Yan, don't worry, Miss Yuqian is not in any danger of life, and the poison of the five-colored dragon snake may be a chance for her to transform her physique and cultivation. Really? Zhuang Jian asked in disbelief. Absolutely true, Zhang Fengjai nodded vigorously to confirm. Then, he looked up at Shang Guan's Heining who was standing in front of the windowsill and asked with a slightly frowned brow. Miss Shang Guan, what can I do for you? Leaping lightly over the windowsill and entering the bedroom, Shang Guan's Heining immediately saw the paper crane whose beak was broken by the five-colored dragon snake. With a trace of heartache in her eyes, she waved her hand to put away the paper crane, and then folded the talisman paper of the crane. It's you. It's you who saved me. Seeing Shang Guan's Heining's gentle behavior towards the paper crane, Zhuang Jian, who had a flash of enlightenment in her eyes, immediately pointed out excitedly. Sister Yan, tell me what happened. Thinking of the three cranes that appeared over the abandoned flour mill, and later turned into paper cranes, and were exactly the same as the paper cranes Shang Guan's Heining had just put away, Zhang Fengjai vaguely guessed why Zhuang Jian did not die in the hands of the five-colored dragon snake. After all, the five-colored dragon snake is not only a monster with the blood of the dragon, but also has the powerful strength of the fifth level of foundation building, which is far beyond the ability of Zhuang Jian, who has only the sixth level of qi condensation, to fight against. However, he wanted to know the details of what happened so that he could decide how to treat Shang Guan's Heining next. Because he had a vague feeling that Shang Guan's Heining's sudden visit was not good. Yezi, this is what happened. Then, Zhuang Jian told him everything about the black snake sneak attack. Hearing that Zhao Yuqian took the initiative to block the sneak attack of the five-colored dragon snake for Zhuang Jian without fear of life and death, causing her to be poisoned by the five-colored dragon snake, Zhang Fengjai's heart suddenly surged with endless gratitude, and decided to wait until she woke up and teach her a set of martial arts boxing taught by her second grandfather. Hearing that the paper crane appeared in time, not only stopped the five-colored dragon snake that bit Zhuang Jian's jade leg from releasing venom, but also almost killed the five-colored dragon snake, Zhang Fengjai quickly stood up and said. Ms. Shangguan, Sister Yan is my most beloved woman and the one I cannot lose. If you save her life, it is equivalent to saving my life. Speaking of this, Zhang Fengjai bowed with one hand and promised. Ms. Shangguan's life-saving grace, I, Zhang Fengjai, will never forget it and will definitely repay it in the future. Faced with Zhang Fengjai's solemn promise, Shangguan's Heining, with a gleam in her eyes, asked in a melodious voice. Zhang Fengjai, has the yin-yang crystal nurtured by the yin-yang spiritual vein fallen into your hands? That's right. If it weren't for the favor of the paper crane saving Zhuang Jian in time, he would definitely deny it, but the gratitude in his heart and the promise he just made Zhang Fengjai nod and admit it directly without wanting to deceive the other party. Zhang Fengjai, then you can repay me with the yin-yang crystal, Shangguan's Heining, whose eyes immediately showed excitement, suggested excitedly. Not wanting to deceive the other party does not mean that he will take out the yin-yang crystal that can make up for the defects of the Hunyuan taking heart method to repay the other party for saving Zhuang Jian. Therefore, facing Shang Guan's Heining's proposal, Zhang Fenjai shook his head and refused. Miss Shang Guan, the yin-yang crystal is very important to me, so you should change a way to repay me. Shang Guan's Heining frowned slightly, and her voice was no longer as melodious and pleasant as before. To be more precise, it was a warning. Zhang Fenjai, I am not only practicing both martial arts, but also have reached the peak of the realm of the acquired peak. So you should know how important the yin-yang qi contained in the yin-yang crystal is to me. The originally calm face gradually became solemn, and Zhang Fenjai explained while suppressing his unhappy emotions. Miss Shangguan, the yin and yang energy contained in the yin-yang crystal not only affects my next realm breakthrough, but also determines whether I can successfully impact the golden core realm. So, you should also know how important the yin-yang crystal is to me. In order to avoid hurting the relationship between us, you'd better find another way to repay your gratitude. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yan Yun Yuqi. Chapter 539. In the bedroom of the Shen family villa. The yin and yang qi contained in the yin and yang crystal stone, which contains the energy of rules, is far less important for the auxiliary improvement of Taoism practice than what Zhang Fenjai just mentioned. Therefore, Shang Guan's Heining, who mistakenly thought that he was confusing himself, asked with a face as cold as ice. So, you are not going to hand over the yin and yang crystal stone? Feeling the gradually rising powerful momentum of Shang Guan's Heining, his mind directly connected to a demonic power in the heart space, and Zhang Fenjai asked with the same indifference. It seems that Miss Shang Guan is going to use force next. A sneer of contempt flashed in his eyes, and Shang Guan's Heining warned with disdain. Zhang Fenjai, I am a double practitioner of Tao Jing Yang, and I am far from being comparable to the useless Tao Jing Yang. Are you sure you want to fight with me? What do you think? Taking a step forward suddenly, Zhang Fenjai shouted and asked, and then directly stimulated a demonic power in the heart space. How is it possible? Feeling the familiar terrifying demonic power emerging from Zhang Fenjai, Shang Guan's Heining took several steps back in disbelief, all the way to the wall of the window sill. No matter whether they were elites and core disciples from the Taoist sects, or heirs from the cultivation families, they could only have one life-saving trump card with a power infinitely close to the void pill realm. Young cultivators who could have two life-saving trump cards were either directly related to the Taoist sect leader, or had a master at the peak of the void pill realm behind them. After all, a life-saving trump card that directly gave energy was also a big burden for the top masters at the void pill realm. Only the powerful masters at the golden pill realm could ignore the consumption of this energy. At the same time, with the racial hatred between the Taoist cultivators and the demon race, it was impossible for Zhang Fenjai to directly receive a gift from a demon race master. Then, the terrifying demonic power he obtained could only be obtained by the powerful people of the sect behind him, or by blood relatives, who captured a demonic beast comparable to the Void Dan realm alive, extracted a demonic essence from the demonic beast with a secret method, and sealed it in his body. In the abandoned flour mill, Zhang Fenjai had already used and consumed a life-saving trump card of terrifying demonic power in order to kill Tao Jingyang as soon as possible and return to the Shen family villa. At this moment, he used the same terrifying demonic power again, which was enough to prove that Zhang Fenjai's origin was definitely not simple. At the same time, judging from his action of stimulating the terrifying demonic power without hesitation just now, Shang Guan's Heining suspected that he might have more than two life-saving trump cards in his hand. If the guess is correct, it means that Zhang Fenjai is either from the top 5 sects of Taoism and has a special blood relationship with the sect master, or has relatives and masters at the peak of the Void Dan realm behind him. Because only the leader of the Taoist sect and the strong man at the peak of the Void Dan realm dared to ignore the crazy revenge of the demons and directly capture several demon beasts comparable to the Void Dan realm, so after temporarily suppressing the idea of grabbing the yin-yang crystal, Shang Guan's Haining asked solemnly. Zhang Fenjai, what sect are you from? Who is the strong man behind you? After several months of experience in the secular world, Zhang Fenjai gradually understood a truth, that is, his own strength is important, but the resources that can be mobilized behind him should not be underestimated. Even at critical moments, the resources that can be mobilized behind him can play an unexpected effect. For example, the evil cultivators and scattered cultivators lurking in Ningji City can hunt him down at will, but they dare not offend Zhuang Jian, who is only at the 4th level of the condensation stage. The reason is the Supernatural Research Institute behind her. For example, in front of the office building of Tianren Hospital, after he introduced himself as Physiognomist, Feng Shui masters from other cities mistakenly thought he was a disciple from Longhu Mountain. Not only did their attitude immediately become very respectful, but they also took the initiative to propose a distribution plan after obtaining the dragon crystal. The reason is Longhu Mountain behind him. For example, Zhao Zulin and Xiao Zuhai dared to use zombie pills to forcibly transform Zhao Yuqian and Dong Sun He, and they were not afraid of the Supernatural Research Institute that controlled secular power. The reason is the Lishan school behind them. So, when seeing Shang Guan's Haining shocked by the terrifying demonic power he used and hurriedly asking about his master, Zhang Fenjai smiled calmly and took the second step forward, and then stimulated the second terrifying demonic power. This. After feeling the second identical terrifying demonic power emerging from Zhang Fenjai, Shang Guan's Haining opened her cherry mouth slightly, and a trace of struggle flashed in her eyes. Although she also has 2 life-saving trump cards that are slightly stronger than the terrifying demon power, and is absolutely sure to defeat or even kill Zhang Fenjai directly, she will definitely offend the strong man behind him afterwards. If the yin-yang crystal stone she obtained can help her advance to the Xiantian realm of martial arts 100%, it would be fine. She can deal with it with her strength that is not inferior to the Sudan realm. If she cannot successfully advance to the Xiantian realm of martial arts, then her situation will be very dangerous. Because the mentor who can protect her safety was killed by a demon beast whose cultivation level was about to advance to the great demon level in an adventure 2 months ago. It is precisely because she lost the protection of her mentor that she chose to suppress the murderous intent in her heart when facing Tao Jinjiang's frivolousness during alchemy, and use the means of tracking and interference to retaliate against the other party. Otherwise, with her current strength not inferior to the peak of the 9th level of foundation building, it would be a matter of minutes to kill Lia Tao Jingyang, and there would be no need to rely on Zhang Fenjai's life-saving trump card to complete the final revenge. Seeing Shang Guan's Haining, who still had no intention of leaving despite a struggling look in her eyes, Zhang Fenjai knew that the deterrence he showed was not enough, so he continued to take a step forward with the excitement of the third terrifying demonic power. At the same time, he also took out the Xianlei talisman from his third grandfather Tuo Yiwen from his sleeve. It seemed like a smiling reminder, but in fact it was a naked threat. Miss Shang Guan, if the 3 life-saving trump cards that are infinitely close to the Sudan realm can't make you change your mind, then I wonder if this Xianlei talisman can. Seeing the Xianlei talisman that could easily kill top experts, the struggling look in Shang Guan's Haining's eyes was instantly replaced by determination, and she immediately turned around and escaped from the villa through the window sill. However, the moment she jumped out of the window sill, Zhang Fenjai's promising voice suddenly came to her ears. Miss Shang Guan, the promise I just made is still valid. If you encounter trouble that cannot be solved in the future, you can come to me and I will do my best to help. Shang Guan's Haining, who landed steadily in the courtyard, turned to look at Zhang Fenjai, who was standing in front of the window sill. After showing a complicated look in his eyes, he directly used Lingbo Y step to disappear into the night. The Best Physiognomist. Author, Yanyun Yuqi. Chapter 540. In the bedroom of the Shen family villa. Call. Seeing Shang Guan's Haining leaving the villa quickly and disappearing into the distant night, Zhang Fenjai, who was standing in front of the window-sill, couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. In fact, the main reason why she forced Shang Guan's Haining to show off 4 life-saving trump cards in succession was that she did not want to completely fall out with her, so as to avoid causing irreconcilable conflicts and grievances between them. Because Shang Guan's Haining not only helped her at critical moments, but also saved Zhuang Jian's life in critical moments. Her mentor Gui Ruhe also had a very deep friendship with her third grandfather. If it weren't for the yin and yang qi contained in the yin and yang crystals, which could make up for the shortcomings of Hunyuan Taking's mental method, for the sake of kindness and friendship, he would not hesitate to give the yin and yang crystals to Shang Guan's Haining. After being cured by the top healing elixir, Zhuang Jian, who was already able to stand up, walked to the windowsill with difficulty, put her arm around Zhang Fenjai, and asked with worry on her face. "Yezi, are you okay?" "Sister Yan, don't worry, I'm fine." After taking a deep breath and forcibly dispelling the complicated emotions caused by Shang Guan's Haining, Zhang Fenjai smiled and shook his head to signal, then turned to glance at Zhao Yuqian, who was lying on the bed, and warned. "Sister Yan, according to my examination just now, it will take about a day and a night for Miss Yuqian to wake up. During this time, you should stay by her side." "No problem." In fact, even without Zhang Fenjai's instructions, the grateful Zhuang Jian would take the initiative to stay and take care of Zhao Yuqian. After all, without Zhao Yuqian's life-saving grace at the critical moment, she would not have been able to delay Zhang Fenjai's timely return for treatment. Therefore, she quickly nodded and agreed. "Sister Yan, I will stay in the guest room. If anything happens, you can go directly to me." Due to the use of yin and yang crystals to complement the shortcomings of the Hunyuan Takings in method, a relatively quiet and safe environment is required. Then, the bedroom with Zhao Yuqian's body obviously did not meet the conditions, so he could only choose other rooms. "Okay, I get it," Zhuang Jian nodded. Stepping out of the bedroom and going to the end of the corridor on the second floor, behind a guest room farthest from the bedroom, Zhang Fenjai pushed open the wooden door and entered the room. Then he took out 6 evil-breaking charms, 6 evil-breaking charms and 6 warning charms from his sleeves. Symbol. Then, 18 charms were affixed to the 4 walls of the bedroom, as well as the roof and floor of the bedroom. Immediately afterwards, he walked to the windowsill and sat down cross-legged with his knees bent. Then he took out the porcelain bottles, charms and jade boxes that he had found from Tao Jinjiang's body from his sleeves, chest, and pockets. The silt-removing pill. After opening the cork of one of the exquisite porcelain bottles, he already knew the type and efficacy of the elixir in the porcelain bottle just by the smell emanating from the bottle. Huayudan, the top healing elixir, is a holy medicine used to treat internal injuries. Its effect is slightly better than the healing elixir given to him by his grandfather. Pour out all the pills in the porcelain bottle, there are 6 pills in total. Considering the dangerous situation in which a large number of sect disciples began to go down the mountain for training, and considering Zhuang Jian's relatively eye-catching identity, Zhang Fenjai decided to give her 2 silt-removing pills as a means of saving her life. As for the remaining 4 silt-removing pills, except for the one he needed to keep for emergencies, Sulitzi, Shenloxi and Xiao Yuxuan each had 1 pill. Ning beaten. After opening the cork of the second exquisite porcelain bottle, Zhang Fenjai also guessed the type and efficacy of the elixir in the porcelain bottle through the faint aroma emanating from the porcelain bottle. Ningbai pill is a top healing elixir, a holy elixir used to treat trauma. Its grade and effect are comparable to those of the blood stasis pill. When he poured out all the elixirs in the porcelain bottle and found that there were also 6 Ningbai Dan, he directly made the same distribution plan as the siltation elixir without much thought. After opening the cork of the third exquisite porcelain bottle, Zhang Fengjai smelled the rich aroma emanating from the porcelain bottle carefully, with a look of doubt in his eyes. He poured out the only elixir in the porcelain bottle and carefully recalled the types of elixirs he knew through the color and size of the elixir. The result was nothing. Shaking his head in disappointment, he put the elixir back into the porcelain bottle. He opened the cork of the fourth delicate porcelain bottle and found that the only elixir in the porcelain bottle was still unknown. Well. After sighing and continuing to shake his head, Zhang Fengjai decided that when he returned to Jiang's house in Shushan on New Year's Eve, he must learn some alchemy theory from his uncle. I don't expect to become a qualified alchemist, I just hope that when I encounter the situation in front of me in the future, I won't be completely confused. Fortunately, he not only recognized the three elixirs in the fifth exquisite porcelain bottle, but also understood their effects. Xianyuan Dan is made from 9 precious medicinal materials and refined for 9 days and 9 nights. It can greatly improve the cultivation level of monks in the foundation building realm. It is one of the necessary benefits for sect elites and core disciples. Since Zhuang Jian's cultivation level is only at the 6th level of the qi condensation stage, and she still has the spirit beads condensed by the 4-soul condensing feng shui formation, she does not need Xianyuan Dan to assist her in improving her cultivation level for the time being. Therefore, he decided to keep the 3 Xianyuan Dan Jiang maple leaves for himself, so that after the flaws in the Hunyuan taking heart method were completed, he could immediately greatly improve his strength to deal with the disciples of the sect who came down from the mountain for training. After all, through the reactions of Xiao Zuhai, the inner disciple of Lishan sect, and Tao Jingyang, the elite disciple of Danding sect, when they mentioned Taoist Wuxin, he knew that the relationship between his third grandfather and the Taoist sects was probably worse than he imagined. After putting down the porcelain bottle containing Xianyuan Dan, Zhang Fengjai cast his eyes on 2 exquisite and small jade boxes. After reaching out to open one of the jade boxes, he found that there was a milky white ointment with a sealing talisman in the jade box. The moment he carefully peeled off the sealing talisman, the rich essence of the milky white ointment instantly burst out, and Zhang Fengjai immediately put on the sealing talisman, and his face showed an ecstasy that was difficult to suppress. Because the ointment that instantly burst out with essence of aura is called Ling Ruo, which is a treasure similar to dragon crystal and yin and yang crystal stone after the top 5 elements of spiritual veins have produced independent spiritual wisdom and accumulated and nurtured for hundreds of years. After the fusion of the 5 elements through mutual generation and mutual restraint, the energy finally formed is the spiritual energy of heaven and earth needed by cultivators for cultivation. Therefore, the spiritual ointment produced by the 5 elements spiritual veins is the most suitable treasure for assisting cultivators in their practice and breakthroughs, and its value is no less than the dragon crystal condensed by the condensed dragon veins. Although the spiritual ointment in the jade box is only the size of a thumb, it is enough to assist a cultivator who has just entered the practice to the peak of the void pill stage. Considering that the Hunyuan taking heart method that makes up for the defects can gather Yinsha energy and star power, and at the same time, it has the help of Xianyuan Dan and Dragon Crystal. Therefore, Zhang Fengjai plans to give half of the spiritual ointment to Zhuang Jian, so that she can rush to the foundation building stage as soon as possible and enhance her ability to protect herself.